Hi guys, this video is about how to make your own cutting mat for your electronic cutting machine, whichever machine you use. It could be Silhouette Cameo, which I use normally. It can be CriCut machine, or I guess for brothers scan and cut will also work, but however I cannot be absolutely sure because I have no this machine at home. But anyway, the reason why we decided to make this video is I just wanted to share my experience, because I cut lots and lots of flowers during the day. I run my paper flowers business, and well, I obviously have a cutting machine, but all those blades, cutting mats and other materials for my machine, they are so pricey and they worn out so quickly. So I decided that I'll go with my homemade at least cutting mats. Well, I cannot make any blade for my machine, but cutting mat is pretty easy to make, so I'm happy to share this with you. So what we will need: a pair of scissors, a Sharpie, 3M brand repositionable adhesive, and I use this type. That's model number or type of the glue number, I don't know, but that's what you're looking for, or any other really high quality adhesive which is repositionable. I know that there are a few other brands you can find in the market, but they vary from country to country, and 3M brand is the mostly well-known one in the world, so you can find it almost everywhere. If you cannot find it in your country, you always can purchase it from Amazon, from US, and they ship most of supplies there. They ship to most of the countries. So let's have a look at the cutting mat for CriCut machine. It's a 12 by 12 plastic sheet, and it's sticky, and it's covered with the protection film, and it's pretty thick plastic the company used. Unfortunately, I have no any original mat from Silhouette Cameo or in size 12 by 12. I have only one which is 12 by 24 inches. But what I normally buy from my supplier for these cases where I need to use a 12 by 12 mat, this is universal cutting mat. That's kind of no-name one, and it's the same idea. It is a well, in this case it's transparent plastic with the grid on it, but it's a little bit thinner than the one they use in CriCut. And again, they have protective, but here's not film, but not plastic, that's just paper, and I keep it on. And this is actually one of my current mats which I use. That's already been homemade, and I used a regular place mat. My kids used this cute mat, yeah, like this, and well, we don't need this anymore, so I decided to reuse it. Now I'll show you how I make one, because I have one very old placemat from IKEA. You can buy any. So what is this? It is a piece of plastic, pretty thick, and it is in size of a little bit bigger than 12 by 12. I would say, let's measure it properly. So it is 14.5 inches by 14.5, because it's square, and this is really good size for us. However, I work most of the times with A4 size papers, which take almost 12 inches on horizontally and a little bit over than 8 inches vertically. So I never ever use this part of the mat, so I don't actually need this. I don't plan to cut this. And what I'll do, I'll make a mat which is 12 inches in width and not that high as normal mat is. So I'll make myself 9 inches. So what I do, I will need an original mat I have. There is a certain difference between CriCut and Silhouette cutting mats. So depending on the machine which you use normally for cutting, even if you have 2 of them like I do, never use I would never use CriCut mat as an example for myself when I'm making the mat, which I plan to use mostly on my Cameo machine. So I will use this one. That's not the original one, but that's exactly the same grid, size, and everything. You can see that the borders here and here are much wider than borders on CriCut mat at the top and on the sides. So you take as an example the mat which you originally need. So actually you can spend your $15. That's exactly $15 or $16 depending on the supplier. That's how much the original mat for Cameo cost me, and the one which I'll make now will cost me almost the cost of this placemat from IKEA, or maybe even much less, just because I already used this mat as a placemat. So now it's dirty, it's not beautiful at all. So the only destiny which can be for this mat now, if just I put it into rubbish bin and that's it. But now I can reuse it or recycle it. Let's give it a second chance, a second life. All right, so what we do, what I do, I use this white side of my placemat from IKEA, and I place the original cutting mat on top of it. It's really not easy. It's a pity that the mat which I use from IKEA is not transparent, because the one which I used before, it is, well, not transparent, but you still can see through. You can see the grid. So what I normally do with this type of plastic is I put the original mat first and the plastic I plan to use on top of it, and I trace the edges of the original mat and the grid through this mat. But here with IKEA mat, it's a little bit more tricky, so I'll do it differently. And actually it's not that bad, because what I need just to mark for myself this edge and this 9 inches mark from that side, and from this side as well. And then I can draw a line. So this will be my mat, and I can cut using those lines. What also I can make is to mark a center, and it will be here. And I can draw an arrow showing where's the center of my mat. Now, actually, I never use the grid even on the original mat, but what I need to see, those edges of my grid, and they are here, and I mark here and here, So I mark for myself those lines where the grid starts from the top and the bottom. And now I can draw those lines here and from another side as well. And here we go. This is our grid lines, and this is the edges of our mat. So what I do, I just cut this here and this edge. Now we are almost there, but the corners here are pretty sharpy and they may hurt me. So what I do, I just cut a tiny little bit so they now are smooth and nice. So here we go. Actually, this is what I can use for my cutting because it fits my A4 paper perfectly. Don't think that this is a mistake, because when we place an A4 paper sheet onto 12 by 12 mat, we always have this gap at the side, so which means we did absolutely perfect job. This is how it should be. So now we need to make this mat sticky, and here is where the adhesive will help us. So you need to shake the can as much as you can and actually spray. Here I should say warning, because I would never ever recommend you guys to make this indoors, because if this is a room where you work in, or if it's your house, the adhesives, they are very smelly, and well, that's not good for your health. But in order to make this video here in the studio, I'll show this here now, but just to mention that I never do this in the studio. I will always go outside for spraying my mats. So what I do, I just spray a tiny little bit, so you can see probably in the camera that there is a little bit of glue and it's a little bit sticky. And now I can stick my sheet of paper and start cutting. Just to mention that for the first time, when you just start using your mat for the first time, you spray a little bit, and you'll find that after maybe 5 to 10 times when you stick and peel off your paper, the adhesive layer will just disappear and your plastic mat won't be that sticky anymore. So you'll just renew the adhesive, you just spray a little bit more, and then after 2 or 3 goes of spraying, your mat will be pretty sticky for a long time. And well, I used one mat for maybe 40 or 50 sheets, and only then I redo this again. And this one can of spray lasts for half a year, for a year, taking into account my really huge amount of cutting on electronic cutter. So this is really super duper economical way to use cutting mats. There is another video here on our channel on YouTube about my first experience of using those plastic sheets for making cutting mats. And there you can find another material which I used that was not about placemats. And there I say lots of words about that I'm not sure yet. And well, I'm not sure how it will be compatible with the new CriCut, with the new Cameo 3 machine, because that was the time when I bought my first Cameo 3 machine, which has the outer blade, which means that's the outer blade for Cameo 3. And that time the company announced that the depth of the blade will be automatically set by machine, taking into account the material you cut. So I thought that the thickness, which is a little bit thicker or a little bit thinner than the original mat, the thickness of my plastic will kind of play not really well together with my machine. So my machine will be faulty, or my cutting will be not as good as I expect it to be. But now, after using this new machine with my old mats for a year, now I can say there's no any difference. I still actually use, I prefer using those old style blue blades for Cameo 3, and I still they call it Rachel blade, and I still use them, where I set the depth of the blade manually for each material, and taking into account that most of the times I use only designer papers, metallic coated papers in 120 GSM, or sometimes I use cardstock in 140 to 160 GSM, which is almost the same as the designer paper, which is coated but in smaller thickness of 120 GSM. They are pretty similar, so I just use for most of my files for cut, I use just one depth, and it doesn't matter for me how thick is my cutting mat. So machine really doesn't count the mat, it counts, so I can see how good or bad my cut on these, well, let's put it depth number 3 or 4, and if I like it, I continue going with this depth of my blade. And only if you use outer blade, you can either test before cutting your design. You can test and see if the machine take into account the thickness of your new homemade mat or not, but in most of the cases it doesn't actually matter. But for sure, these mats, they serve much longer than those which are originally from Silhouette or CriCut, and yeah, they cost you just a couple of dollars a pack. So you can go to IKEA, buy a few brand new mats with nice pictures, and make something like this for your daily use in cutting different designs. Enjoy this video and give us a feedback in likes and comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss any other tips and tricks we post here regularly, and tag us with your brand new homemade mats on Instagram using hashtag paperprotutorials or Sydney Paper Flowers, and follow us there because we post much more videos on our Instagram. If you want to learn how to make flowers, follow us on Instagram, Paper Pro Tutorials. We are happy to see you there. Bye bye.